Patience. What a funny word. I would never have thought it would be the last thing to come to mind when... well, let's just say that I don't really have time left to be patient. Throughout my entire life, I've never really been a patient guy. Growing up, patience was this dull, passive thing. Remember the story of the tortoise and the hare? Well, to be honest, it was just ridiculous. Silly. Yeah, patience wins the race and patient guys finish first. What a joke. Patience and passiveness isn't what makes someone a winner. I mean, I wasn't trying to say that the hare should have won. I was just saying that the tortoise didn't win because he was patient, and the hare didn't lose because he wasn't. The tortoise got lucky, and that kind of luck just doesn't happen in real life. I was wrong. Back in grade school, I wasn't a strong learner. I guess I was just slow, like the tortoise. I tried really hard to learn, but it just never worked out. I remember this one time when I pulled an all-nighter, and I memorized all the notes and redid every textbook question. And on that test, history, I think, I still failed. At this point, I felt like my life was terrible enough, with my failing grades and feeling down every single day. But then my best friend's parents died in a car crash, and he blamed himself. I had no idea how to comfort him. What would a 10-year-old know about death when he'd just barely begun to taste life? I couldn't understand it. And it didn't stop there. My best friend had to deal with suffering on a whole other level than failing a course, and my world just seemed to get more terrible. Or perhaps I just started to notice things more. But that's the thing about pain, it demands to be felt. I think it was back then that I started to feel it more and more. I used to take piano lessons downtown, and every time I got out of the subway to make that trek to my teacher's studio, there was always this guy in this really shabby coat, squatting outside the McDonald's at the stoplight. He didn't even have a bowl or anything in front of him. He was just there. I saw him every time I went to that studio for over 5 years. I was always curious about how he kept living and sitting there for that long. His life seemed so purposeless. I just couldn't understand how he had the capacity to keep living it. And then 9/11 came, and everyone started to look at Mom funny because she wore a hijab, but she never took it off. And even though I admired her for that, at the time it confused me. Was getting dirty looks at the grocery store and being avoided by all the neighbors worth it? Auntie and uncle, grandma and grandpa, brother and sister Obaid, they were all in on this secret that I couldn't understand. Wars raged on, and death tolls just flashed on the television every day until they seemed to lose their meaning. I don't remember a single week where I didn't hear of anyone dying. Not even like old age or cancer dying, not when nature takes its course. These people were murdered. Husbands left wives for younger women. My Arabic teacher was upset about it for weeks. Although she still came to class and she did a good job feigning a smile between sobbing during recess. And then there's me, stuck in a bed. I can't move, I can't talk, I can barely breathe. What are we doing? What's the point? We all know we die, that's the only certainty in life. Why don't we just give up? The reason my parents didn't hate me as much as I hated myself when I failed, the reason people kept on surviving, hoping, despite all the suffering, the reason my mother and aunt and grandma kept wearing the hijab, the reason soldiers went off to war to protect their values, and the reason I'm living, stuck in a bed and barely alive, but still alive. The reason is patience. Patience. What a funny word. It's not about the lack of action, but patience is about waiting for the right time to act, for the right principles, for the right purpose. We're all tested in life, trials, hardships. That's just part of the deal. But there's a greater purpose to life than to just get over them. Patience isn't about being passive or indecisive. It's about having the courage to wait, to act when the time arrives. And just like how life is about moving on, and patience is about moving on, it's time for me to move on.